This one is about propaganda. Y'all know what propaganda is. That's the stuff the Nazis did, remember? Nazis weren't the first ones, and they're not the last. I watched 3 videos about how great and wonderful these police officers are, about the wonderful things that they do. And when I was looking at those videos, I was noticing things that are kind of out of the ordinary. And after doing some research, it turns out that police departments are spending your tax dollars to make propaganda to try to make the public like them, despite the fact that they won't do their jobs. Hundreds of millions of dollars. One of them is a police officer who brought a boy some shoes because this boy was broke. And you watch the video and you're like, that is so heart wrenching and it is so touching. But then you realize that it's not somebody recording it. It's not some civilian who goes, hey, that officer's doing a good thing. No, it's a professional camera crew. The camera's on a tripod, and they have more than one camera. So they show the police officer walking up the door, and then they take you to inside of the house, right behind the mom. And she opens the door to this officer, and she's all excited. Like, oh my God, there's an officer here. How surprising. You have a camera crew right behind you, lady. Anybody with half a brain can tell you're faking. Anybody with half of a brain can tell that this is propaganda. See, we're the good guys. We're taking bad guys off the streets. But no, they're not. If they were taking bad guys off the streets, they'd actually be taking your dads out of your homes. Your dads are the most likely people to perpetrate crimes against you, especially if you're a little girl. 80% of child molestation cases and rape cases, it's your dad. Well, specifically one of your parents, your mom or your dad. Because women do the same shit. Women have sex drives too. Meanwhile, you can throw yourself at a good looking feller like a $2 hooker, knowing that he beat up your ex best friend on multiple occasions, but he's good looking. You'll have cute kids. And then you got your gaggle there. They do the same thing as the police, the same propaganda bullshit. We teach them to do this. We teach girls to gang up on men. Now, there is certain situations where it's acceptable. If you've got a guy raping you and stalking you, yeah, fucking gang up on his ass. But make sure he gets an honest day in court. Make sure you gang up on his ass in court. But don't play victim. The shit that I've had to go through, it's because people wanted to play victim, including the police. People wanted to play victim because I spoke out when they didn't keep their word. Oh, Sean, that's your fault. That's your fault. That's your fault. No, it's not my fault that you didn't keep your word. It is not my fault that you made a decision not to keep your word. Katie Cahill, Miss Peaches, Karamia, a.k.a. Cara Rogers, Kara Johnson, Danica Garner, Alicia Bollinger. Now, my problem with not having any money coming in, not having my disability, is that these people who I accepted the help that they wanted to give because they promised me the help that well, they're not ever going to keep their word, are they? But later on, they're going to throw it in my face that they sent me money. Never mind the fact that it's going to cost me $2,000 just to get into a cheap place. And I could have that money. I could have had that money if I'd have had the help that I needed. But people just wanted to assume And they wanted to do their own thing and have their own fun, despite the fact that I invested my resources for that help. Miss Peaches was paid for her time on 4 separate occasions before Natalie was killed. Paid for her time in cash, in marijuana, and in cigarettes, in food, and in me going down to panhandle with a son so that they would have money. I did that. That's what I did for the week before Christmas of 2016. This was only a couple of months after I left Virginia. Christmas is the best time for that. I made about $1,000 in 1 week. Never had that happen before. Matter of fact, only once had I ever made more than $100 in a day panhandling. That's why I didn't panhandle. When Desiree needed diapers for her kids, I panhandled up the money for diapers for her kids. Now, I had to lie to do that because I sat there for 4 hours with a sign that said we needed diapers. After 4 hours, I didn't have shit. So I flipped the piece of cardboard over and I wrote, "Why lie? I need a beer." It didn't even take 20 minutes to send Desiree down to the store to get those diapers. You tell the truth, people don't want to help. You tell them you want to go spinning, and they're like, "Here's your money." It's overwhelming for me. And that beeping is driving me nuts. So is the heat. But the propaganda bullshit, when you get a gaggle together, what's a gaggle? That's a bunch of twisted women who like to manipulate. Now, let's say you got 6 women, they're all friends, and they're all part of a group, right? Now, let's say Rebecca, she's dealing with getting beaten by her boyfriend. So they work together to try to get her safe and ostracize him so that he can't live in that town without being threatened or assaulted. Well, if he's an actual perpetrator, that makes sense. But also, it's illegal as fuck, and they should have gone to the police to begin with. Like I did. Did I start off going to the police? No, I went to the source first, because that's what we were taught to do. And I've proven that all of the things that you're teaching your kids to do, they don't work. Not without you in their corner. If your son gets beaten up at school, and you want to accuse him and blame him like it's his fault, well, that makes it a major issue. And no matter how right he is, because you weren't in his corner, he's the one in trouble. Meanwhile, the bully, who's spoiled as fuck, and his mommy and daddy come in there and they're like, "Yeah, our son's a good kid and he wouldn't do a thing like that," and so on and so forth. Then that boy gets off scot-free. In Nebraska, when I was assaulted by Zach Metcalf, I fought back, and I fought back nicely. Zach Metcalf thought he was going to get off scot-free because he wanted to be a Marine. There's a lot of propaganda from them fellers, too. That's the difference between the police when they're doing something good and when they're doing something bad. When you see videos of them doing something bad, it's people with something like this, a telephone, videotaping it. They don't have a tripod set up in the front yard and a camera crew in behind the mother. They don't have to do the whole propaganda thing. They're showing you the truth. My dad didn't like that idea. He's like, "Sean, you're trying to entrap me." No, Dad, I'm telling the truth. I'm going to put the whole thing up, whether you agree with me or not. Even your lies. And yeah, there are people who are going to believe that. That's not my problem. I don't make people believe any of the things that they choose to believe. At the same time, the police went out of their way to destroy evidence, to not look at evidence, to prevent me from having the money to pursue them in court. But you know what? Without somebody in my corner who's not considered mentally ill, it doesn't matter how hard I work because nobody's going to listen. A lot of people said that they advocated for me. No, they didn't. Arguing with people on Facebook is not advocating for me. I needed help in court. But I got bullshitters like Selena Maestas who talk shit about how terrible men are, but then she posts up a bunch of stuff about needing to get laid. And when a guy responds to it, then she does the same thing she always does to men. Men are pigs. Men are terrible. Men are this. Men are that. Meanwhile, she strips for a living. Well, she lost her job for stealing. Did she actually steal? I don't know. I wasn't there. With Rihanna, I accepted the fact that she's an alcoholic. With Teresa, I accepted the fact that they were alcoholics. I'm not perfect. How is it my place to judge you for not being perfect? At the same time, if your imperfections are causing me harm, then yeah, I'm going to expose the fuck out of them. If you're going to tell me I'm a this and I'm a that and I did this and I did that for a bunch of situations you were never there for, I will judge you. If you want to judge me in public, I will judge you in public. That's where all this comes out. Now, anytime that I have an agreement with somebody, they get to use slander that I was never allowed to defend myself against. Like somehow that makes it true and that makes it okay for them to do bad things to me. Fuck you, Tabby, and fuck you, Ray Ray. Meanwhile, if either of those two dumb cunts got a hold of me to say that they needed help, they get it. Well, Ray Ray anyway. Tabby's on her own. I'm not going to Colorado. I'm not going to go somewhere where I'm abused. Abused by that many people and that many officers and that corruptive system. And all of those officers had access to me, and all of those civilians had access to me, and they all hated me over slander. Slander that was posted all over the media worldwide. And people, when I talk about Natalie, they're like, I know that name. I recognize that name. Yeah, I know. I know you recognize that name. And a lot of people are like, I recognize you. I've seen you somewhere. Were you on the news? Actually, I was. That whole propaganda thing that women will do, though, when you've got that one who's a manipulator, and she wants to manipulate you into believing that no matter what a man does, he's doing terrible things because he has a penis. This is the same woman who's going to outright lie about men so that she can get those other women's help to destroy his lives because he rejected her. He said, no, I'm not going to have sex with you. No, I'm not going to leave my wife. No, I'm not going to give you that job. So men get fucked for defending themselves, for doing what's right. Meanwhile, am I sexist for saying that women in the United States do this? No. You're sexist for teaching them to. You are sexist for teaching them that that kind of behavior is okay. You don't like how I behave? Look at how I was treated when I was nice, when I was good to people. I got blown off. People made empty promises that they never kept. And sometimes you just got to let people go. If they're going to treat you like a bad guy for saying something, that's on them. But every person should have the right to defend themselves.